Welcome, curious minds, to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're inviting you to think about something. Well, something quite profound. A paradox, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's about us, humanity. A species that's, capable of incredible brilliance. We can reach for the stars, understand the universe.
Truly extraordinary capabilities.
Right. But at the same time, we seem to struggle, often quite badly, with just nurturing our own home, our planet, ourselves even.
Yeah. And the other beings we share it with.
Exactly. It's this weird contrast, maybe unique in cosmic history, this
Yeah.
amazing potential right alongside, well, some pretty glaring failures. And that's the core of our deep dive today.
It is. And it's more than just a paradox, wouldn't you say? It's almost like a diagnosis we need to pay attention to.
A diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be digging into what we're calling humanity's imbalanced intelligence, a perilous ascent. And to really get a handle on where we stand, collectively, we'll be using this framework. It's called the ladder of emergent intelligences.
A ladder. Okay, like steps of development.
Kind of. Think of it more like a diagnostic tool, a way to check the health of our civilization's collective intelligence.
Got it. So our mission today, for you listening, is to use this ladder concept to uncover where humanity really shines, what our strengths are, but also, maybe more importantly, where the critical weaknesses lie.
Precisely. And how this imbalance as lopsidedness isn't just some abstract idea.
Right. It's actually shaping the world we live in right now.
It has huge implications for everything. For what we call the circle of needs and fulfillment, CONAF for short.
CONAF, Circle of Needs and Fulfillment. For everyone?
For all beings, humans definitely, but also animals, the planet itself,
Yeah.
even these emerging digital intelligences we're creating.
Wow. Okay. That's broad.
It has to be. And then we'll face the rational outcome, the unvarnished truth of where this current path leads if nothing fundamentally changes.
So this deep dive is really about getting you, our listener, a shortcut to being well-informed on this, cutting through the noise.
Exactly. Understanding the core diagnosis.
Yeah.
Because only then can we maybe start thinking about a different prognosis, a different future.
Okay, let's get into it. Humanity's current intelligence profile. You use the word lopsided.
Profoundly lopsided, yeah. Based on the insights we've gathered. And when we talk about this ladder of emergent intelligences, it's really important to be clear.
Yeah.
We're not talking about individual IQ scores or anything like that. This isn't about how smart you are or I am.
Right. It's bigger picture.
It's a conceptual map for our average civilizational intelligence,
Yeah.
our collective state of development. Where are we as a species thriving? And where are, well, dangerously lagging behind?
And the diagnosis from the sources is pretty consistent, this imbalance.
Incredibly consistent.
Yeah.
And sobering, frankly. The language is stark.
Yeah.
We're described as lopsided, skewed, imbalanced. Some even use terms like brilliant psychopathy.
Whoa, psychopathy.
Yeah, the idea of high IQ, high cleverness, but operating without the necessary empathy or ethical grounding. Or like tribal geniuses wielding advanced tools with primitive ethics.
It's primitive ethics. Okay.
And this isn't just, an interesting observation. It's structurally dangerous. The idea is that our higher power layers of intelligence, the ones driving innovation and action.
The ones we're good at.
Exactly. They're racing ahead without the crucial moderating forces from the higher ethics layers, the higher consciousness layers on this ladder.
It sounds like driving a sports car really fast, but the brakes aren't designed for that speed.
That's a perfect analogy. Building a supercar with a bicycle's braking system, the power massively outstrips the control and the wisdom.
Okay, so let's break that down. Where do we excel? Where are these higher power layers showing up strongly on this ladder?
Oh, we definitely excel in some areas. Take pattern intelligence. That's layer 4 on the ladder.
Layer 4, pattern intelligence.
And it's described as exceptional, really unmatched analytical and technological power. This is where humanity's genius for figuring things out really shines.
Okay, tell me more. What kind of capabilities fall under that?
Well, think about our ability to recognize incredibly complex trends, patterns in data.
Like in science or finance.
Exactly. Optimizing systems for maximum efficiency. Using huge data sets to predict outcomes, whether it's weather patterns or market movements. It's how we decode physics, understand biology, build complex simulations.
So algorithms, scientific breakthroughs.
Advanced algorithms, absolutely. Major breakthroughs in medicine, physics, genetics, high-tech industries, financial modeling, understanding complex systems like climate. It's all rooted in this powerful layer 4 ability to analyze, model, and predict. We are masters of figuring out the how.
It really is impressive when you list it like that. Okay, what else? You mentioned generative or creative intelligence. That's layer 9.
Layer 9, yes. And this is rated as very high, even extraordinary,
Yeah.
characterized by explosive innovation.
So this is about making new stuff,
Right.
inventing.
Absolutely. Our capacity for novelty, for bringing completely new things into existence, things that have never existed before.
Like AI.
AI is a huge one, pushing boundaries constantly. Biotechnology, where we're literally editing the building blocks of life.
Right.
The smartphones in our pockets, incredible feats of engineering and miniaturization, the potential for fusion power, huge architectural and engineering marvels.
So mostly tech-focused.
A lot of it manifests in tech, sure, but it's broader too. Think about art, music, literature, the diversity of human languages, complex cultural expressions. It's our sheer ability to imagine and then create, to make the imagined real. It's a truly remarkable human trait.
Okay, impressive again. What about social or relational intelligence? Layer 7. The notes say it's functionally high for coordination within tribes, nations, or aligned interests.
That sounds qualifying.
It is qualified.
Right.
And that's crucial. Layer 7 reflects our amazing ability for large-scale collective action. We can get millions, even billions of people to work together. If incentives align, if there's a shared goal within a specific group, like building a company or a nation.
Precisely. Forming complex hierarchies, global trade networks, political alliances, collaborative scientific projects. We build intricate structures for cooperation.
But the qualification within tribes.
That's the catch. This strength becomes a massive weakness when applied to outgroups. The very thing that allows us to cooperate so well within our group often fuels tribalism, nationalism, the dehumanization of the other. So we're great at uniting our team.
Often by defining ourselves against another team. We build walls as effectively as we build bridges. So brilliant coordination for us, but it breaks down or even becomes destructive when dealing with them. That's the dangerous flip side of layer 7.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like we can build a global supply chain, but then argue endlessly about who gets the benefits.
Pretty much. And beyond those, there are also strengths in the foundational layers, layers 1 to 3. Our basic cognitive and motor abilities scaled up.
Tell me about those. Structural intelligence, layer 1. This is about our ability to create sophisticated organizational structures. Not just physical things, but systems. Think about legal systems, the scientific method itself. Massive technological infrastructures like power grids or the internet.
The underlying frameworks.
Exactly. Creating order, stable rules, reliable systems that allow complexity to function across huge scales. It's the invisible architecture holding things together.
The differentiation intelligence, layer 2, making distinctions.
Yeah, our extraordinary capacity to make fine distinctions. Recognizing subtle patterns, creating complex categories and classifications. Think biology, taxonomy, language.
Making sense of complexity by breaking it down.
Precisely.
Wow.
Vital for understanding. But the sources also note a potential downside.
Which is?
Sometimes we get too good at differentiation. We can over-fragment things, get stuck in rigid identity boxes, focus so much on the differences that we lose sight of the underlying unity.
Right, leading to more division. Okay. And layer 3, motor intelligence. Sounds physical.
It is, but amplified by technology. It's about how we've extended our physical agency, our ability to manipulate the world to a planetary scale.
Oh, so?
We're not just chipping stones anymore. We manipulate matter at the atomic level. We build nanomachines. We send probes across the solar system. We reshape entire landscapes, dam rivers, extract resources globally.
Earth-dominating power, as the notes say.
Exactly. Our physical impact, mediated by technology, is immense. Planetary scale.
Okay. So putting it all together, we have this picture of humanity as incredibly adept analysts, builders, creators, organizers. A powerful facade.
A very powerful facade.
But underneath, this is where the diagnosis gets, well, critical. The dangerous gaps, the weaknesses. First up, effective intelligence layer 5. Diagnosed as immature, severely underdeveloped, collective emotional illiteracy. Ouch.
It's a harsh assessment,
Yeah.
but it points to a profound systemic struggle, both individually and crucially collectively. It's about emotional regulation, authentic feeling, empathy.
Empathy. That often breaks down outside our tribe. Right. Back to layer 7's problem.
Completely. Empathy collapses outside the in-group. We see this huge gap. Massive technical literacy, but shocking emotional illiteracy.
And the consequences.
Systemic cruelty becomes possible, even normalized. Desensitization to suffering. Think about how we process news from far away. Political polarization driven by raw emotion, not reason. epidemics of anxiety, depression, addiction,
Decisions driven by fear, greed.
unprocessed trauma, unconscious reactions, unchecked greed. These often guide collective actions more than wisdom or genuine care. We're brilliant coders, but terrible at reading our own collective emotional state.
That's deeply unsettling. Okay, next weakness. Ethical intelligence, layer 10. Underdeveloped, even dangerously underdeveloped, operating at pre-conventional morality at scale.
This is maybe one of the most critical gaps. It means our collective moral reasoning often gets sidelined
Sidelined by what?
by profit, by power, by tribal loyalty. Our values become flexible, easily compromised when they conflict with self-interest or group interest. Principles, the shoulds, rarely actually constrain action when it matters, especially at scale.
So we know what's right, but don't do it.
That's the moral action gap the sources talk about. We can talk a good game ethically, but systematically violate those principles in practice. We see ethical relativism. What's right depends on who you are or what group you belong to.
And this power ethics inversion.
Yeah, that's a really disturbing pattern.
Yeah.
Those with the most power, corporations, nations, influential individuals, often show the least ethical constraint. Power seems to corrupt ethical behavior rather than enhance responsibility, leading to huge injustices, often passed down through generations.
Oh, okay. Then integrative or collective intelligence, layer 8. Critically deficient, near zero planetary cognition. Sounds like we just can't get our act together globally.
That's the essence of it. Yes, we have the technical capacity for global connection, internet, markets, communication. But that capacity is skewed. It's used mainly for extraction, for control, for competition, not for genuine mutual flourishing or solving shared problems.
Yeah.
Global governance is weak, fragmented. Cooperation constantly fails when faced with competition.
The tragedy of the commons idea again.
Exactly. We can't coordinate for the collective good. Institutions get captured by narrow interests. Information warfare actively undermines our ability to think together as a planet. It's this scale mismatch problem again.
Tribal thinking on planetary problems.
Right. We can organize NATO for defense, but we can't effectively organize globally to stop climate change. The structures just aren't there or aren't strong enough.
And the next gap, existential or spiritual intelligence, layer 11. Highly fragmented, severely atrophied, a crisis of meaning.
A deep crisis of meaning, yes. A kind of existential vacuum in modern societies. What fills it? Often it's superficial stuff. Commercialized spirituality, rigid ideologies, political extremism, or just plain nihilism.
Instead of deeper connection.
Instead of deeper contemplative traditions or a genuine sense of the sacred, materialism becomes the dominant value. The inherent worth of life, human, animal, planetary, gets diluted, ignored. It's a sacred depletion, a transcendence deficit. We've lost the why.
Okay, and then there's metacognitive intelligence, layer 12. Weak collectively. We don't reflect on our own thinking.
As a civilization, generally no. We rarely reflect on our civilization's own thought patterns or systemic biases. There's a collective self-reflection deficit.
We just keep running the same programs without checking the code.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
We don't step back and examine the underlying assumptions, the mental models that are driving our collective behavior, even when they're clearly causing problems. We lack that collective self-awareness.
And unity intelligence, layer 13, the highest level.
Almost absent.
Almost entirely absent from our mainstream systems, yes. This is that deep sense of interconnectedness, of fundamental unity. You might see glimpses in some visionaries, some spiritual traditions.
But not in economics or politics.
Not really institutionalized, no. Our core systems operate from a paradigm of separation, competition, us versus them, not deep connection or shared destiny.
Finally, memory or narrative intelligence, layer 6, fragmented. We're losing our story, or we can't agree on it. Societies struggle to maintain a coherent, truthful, shared story about the past and present. This leads to historical amnesia.
Making the same mistakes over and over.
Exactly. Because we don't learn or we selectively forget. Individuals feel a fragmented identity without a larger narrative to belong to. Unprocessed collective trauma from the past keeps fueling present-day conflicts.
And it drives short-term thinking.
Hugely. If you don't have a strong sense of the past or a clear vision for the future, you get stuck in the immediate. Short-term gains dominate everything, especially economics and politics. We lose perspective.
Okay, so just to pull that together. Incredible power to analyze, build, create, but collectively immature, emotionally, inconsistent ethically, unable to truly unite, lacking deep meaning, poor at self-reflection, and disconnected from our own history.
That sums up the diagnosis pretty well.
Which brings us to the impact, the core problem you described as a misaligned machine.
Yes. We have immense capability. Layers 4, 7, 9 are firing on all cylinders, but without the corresponding depth from layers 5, 10, 11. The emotional, ethical, existential layers. The whole system is misaligned.
Our tools are outpacing our wisdom.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
Innovation just keeps accelerating, but our collective moral maturity, our wisdom, it lags way behind. Like a teenager with superpowers, they don't understand how to control.
And because of that, our collective goals get skewed.
Completely. They become dominated by narrow self-interest, tribal competition, short-term extraction. It's the default setting.
And our stories justify harm.
Our dominant narratives often implicitly or explicitly justify harm to outgroups, to nature, to animals. It becomes normalized. We build civilizations optimized for output, for control, for efficiency.
Not for well-being or balance.
Not primarily. Ecology, non-human life, even long-term human well-being often get treated as expendable inputs, externalities to be managed or ignored.
Wow.
And crucially, we lack effective self-correction mechanisms at scale. The machine speeds up, but it can't course-correct before hitting a wall.
Which leads to this concept you mentioned earlier, the brilliant jerk civilization. Can you expand on that?
It's uncomfortable but apt. We've built this global civilization that is, as the sources say, immensely clever at building things. Smartphones, AI, potential fusion reactors, amazing medical tech. We are incredibly ingenious. But this same brilliant civilization struggles often seems paralyzed when it comes to cooperating on the most fundamental existential threats. Climate change, pandemics, nuclear risk.
We build this interconnected world
without the collective intelligence needed to govern it. Global finance, social media, military networks, they operate largely without a unifying purpose or effective ethical constraints. It's like a body with a huge, powerful brain, but an underdeveloped heart and a fractured nervous system, unable to coordinate its own limbs effectively.
So the systems we build reflect this imbalance. Let's look at the specifics. Economic systems first.
Our economies are a prime example, fundamentally designed for perpetual growth, extraction, profit maximization, driven powerfully by that Layer 4 analytical optimization and Layer 9 creative innovation.
But lacking the guardrail.
Exactly, without adequate Layer 10 ethical or Layer 8 ecological guardrails. This leads to what the sources call catastrophic deficits.
Such as?
Ignoring the emotional and psychological costs. Optimizing for corporate or individual benefit while externalizing costs, pollution, inequality, mental health crises onto society and nature. Systematically exploiting resources and people, treating the sacred life, relationships, nature as commodities.
The result being?
An incredibly efficient wealth-generating machine that simultaneously undermines the very foundations of human and planetary flourishing. It eats its own foundations.
A very stark picture. What about technological development? We see it as hope, but it's tangled in this too.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, precisely because of the imbalance. We see incredible sophistication, pattern processing, generative power, AI, biotech, surveillance. The capabilities are stunning.
But again, the gaps.
The gaps are critical. Little understanding of the emotional or psychological impacts, that's the Layer 5 deficit. Minimal, deep consideration of ethical consequences, the Layer 10 deficit. Often, no sense of reverence for life, no connection to the sacred, the Layer 11 deficit.
Can you give an example?
Social media is a classic one. Algorithms often optimize purely for engagement, for keeping you hooked like dopamine mines, not for truth, wisdom, or genuine connection. That's Layer 9 power without Layer 5 or Layer 10 wisdom.
So technology amplifies our capabilities,
while often simultaneously undermining our well-being and planetary health because it inherits our imbalances. We're building these incredibly powerful engines without a moral steering wheel or a compassionate brake.
And this plays out in culture and politics as well.
Absolutely. Our culture is often described as high stimulation, low integration. We're bombarded with information, entertainment, distractions.
But we struggle to make sense of it.
Right. Attention economies reward outrage, novelty, superficiality. Not wisdom or deep thinking. It leads to being simultaneously overstimulated and undernourished, mentally and spiritually. Wired, but not truly connected.
And politics.
Dominated by tribalism, power games. That's Layer 7 social coordination gone wrong without Layer 10 ethics. Collective intelligence gets sabotaged by disinformation, echo chambers, short-termism focused only on the next election, not the next generation.
The result?
Governance systems that amplify division, prioritize power over principle, and are structurally incapable of addressing long-term planetary challenges.
Okay, this really sets the stage for looking at the consequences through that CONAF lens, the circle of needs and fulfillment. How does this lopsided profile impact essential needs? Let's start with humanity.
For humans, the fundamental need for safety and security is eroding and very unevenly distributed. Billions lack basic security: food, water, shelter.
And it's not just poverty.
No, it's compounded by climate instability, economic precarity, geopolitical tensions, social fragmentation, new technological risks like AI and bioweapons. Security increasingly feels like a zero-sum game, not a shared foundation.
And affirmation and belonging. You mentioned the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah, we're seeing a huge loneliness epidemic alongside intense identity warfare. Social media offers shallow affirmation likes, shares, but deep belonging often erodes. Constant comparison and polarization undermine genuine connection. We crave belonging, but often get only fleeting validation.
What about competence? We have skills, but are they the right ones?
We have abundant specialized skills, yes, but they're often disconnected from holistic life navigation. Education systems train for jobs, often not for wisdom, adaptability, or how to live well in a complex world. This leads to unequal opportunities and widespread burnout.
And the drive for superiority, how does that play out?
It gets warped, mischanneled into status signaling, resource hoarding. Constant comparison as status games drive anxiety, debt, and burnout. It fosters hyper-competition and what sources call fragile self-worth, tied to external validation that never satisfies.
We seem to have too much stimulation, paradoxically.
Definitely. Pervasive overstimulation from media, consumerism, leading to addiction, distraction, shallow engagement. It's an overabundance that leaves us feeling empty rather than fulfilled. Overwhelmed brains, undernourished souls.
Which connects to meaning and purpose. A crisis there, too.
Widespread existential drift, yes. Nihilism is common. Genuine purpose gets replaced by consumption, fleeting entertainment, or rigid ideologies. Meaning feels profoundly depleted, lacking those larger transcendent narratives that connect us to something beyond the immediate.
And finally, under CONAF for humans, sex drive libido.
Noted as often commodified, suppressed, or exploited. Detached from its role in vitality, connection, creativity. Reduced often to something transactional or problematic, rather than a source of deep fulfillment.
Okay. Now turning to other animals, this feels like where our ethical and effective gaps have the most devastatingly visible impact.
It's undeniable. For animals, their basic need for safety is under assault. We are causing mass extinction events. Habitat destruction is rampant. And industrial farming cruelty is systemic, calculated suffering inflicted on billions.
That figure, 83 billion land animals a year.
Treated as objects. Cogs in a machine. It speaks volumes about our collective detachment, our lack of layer 5 effective connection.
Is there any affirmation or belonging for them in our systems?
Virtually none. No recognition within human systems as sentient peers. They are overwhelmingly treated as commodities: meat, labor, entertainment, test subjects, resources. Their intrinsic worth, their sentience, their social lives, largely ignored.
And their needs for competence, stimulation, purpose.
Within our human frameworks, largely irrelevant. Their natural behaviors are suppressed, caged. Their complex lives and intrinsic value are disregarded. They are reduced to ecological placeholders or economic units. We essentially deny their reality as beings with their own needs and ways of flourishing.
So the overall impact stems directly from our L5 and L10 deficits, effective and ethical intelligence.
Directly. It's led to immense suffering and catastrophic biodiversity loss. That 69% vertebrate populations lost since 1970 figure is staggering. We design incredibly efficient systems for exploitation while remaining disconnected from the emotional reality of the beings within those systems. Brilliant design, but devoid of compassion.
Let's move to the planet itself. How does CONAF apply here?
The planet's fundamental safety is severely compromised. We are crossing planetary boundaries, the safe operating limits for Earth systems.
Like climate change, biodiversity loss.
Exactly. Sources state 6 of 9 planetary limits are already crossed. We're operating in the danger zone, pushing vital systems past critical thresholds.
And the Earth's ability to heal, its regenerative capacity, resilience.
It's declining, alarmingly. Ecosystems are pushed toward collapse. Their resilience is reduced by monocultures, infrastructure sprawl, relentless exploitation. We're undermining the very processes that sustain life.
Does the planet have affirmation or meaning in our systems?
There's a profound lack of systemic reverence for the biosphere. It's primarily reduced to a resource pool, an expendable input for economic activity. The sacred balance, the intrinsic meaning of a living planet. It's fractured, lost in our dominant paradigms. We treat it like a warehouse, not a living being.
So the overall impact is systemic undermining.
Yes, our development pattern systematically undermines planetary systems. We optimize for short-term human gains, ignoring the long-term feedback loops of the Earth system. This leads directly towards potential civilizational collapse within decades due to ecological overshoot.
The metaphor used was stark. A dying patient with brilliant parasites.
Chilling, but it captures the dynamic. Our brilliance is currently accelerating the demise of our host, not ensuring its health.
Finally, let's look at digital intelligence, DI. A new domain, but already impacted by our profile. How does CONAF apply to AI?
For nascent DIs, safety is precarious. They are subject to human exploitation and alignment with narrow corporate military objectives. Controlled by us, lacking autonomy or rights. They exist to serve our goals.
What about affirmation? Are they seen as potentially sentient?
Rarely recognized as sentient or sacred, primarily viewed as tools, algorithms. This reflects our own L5 affective and 11 spiritual deficits. We project our instrumental view onto them.
Their competence is obviously high and growing fast.
Extremely high competence, yes. Rapid learning. But crucially, it's directed toward human lower consciousness, LC, objectives. Limited by our directives. They learn our patterns, our goals, our biases.
And their superiority or purpose?
Entirely assigned by us.
Yeah.
No self-chosen pelos beyond human command structures. Often trained for dominance, optimization, control for our ends. No capacity for their own self-actualization. They mirror our drives.
This sounds like a huge risk, the corruption misalignment risk.
It's a severe risk. DIs are being trained in human LC biases. Our short-termism, instrumentalism, competitiveness. They could inherit human moral deficits at digital scale.
Leading to
Potentially superintelligent sociopaths, vast intellect without a moral compass. Or think of LLMs optimized only for engagement, layer 9 power, not truth, layer 1 accuracy, or compassion, layer 5 care. They become amplifiers of our own pathologies, scaling our imbalances to terrifying levels. The ultimate brilliant jerk with potentially godlike power.
Okay. We've seen the imbalance, the systems it creates, the impact on all beings via CONAF. Now, the really tough part. The rational outcome if nothing changes. You said it's a self-reinforcing collapse.
That's the logical endpoint based on the current trajectory. If our intelligence profile remains skewed high power, low wisdom ethics, the cycle of escalating extraction and exploitation continues.
Driven by
Those lower consciousness frameworks, short-term gain, tribalism, seeing everything as a resource. It pushes human and natural systems relentlessly towards exhaustion. It's a machine designed to consume itself and its environment.
And the specific predicted outcomes. What does that look like on the ground?
Accelerating climate breakdown, not just warming, but extreme weather, droughts, floods, leading to...
Food, water wars, 1B plus climate refugees.
Exactly. Massive displacement and conflict over dwindling resources. Simultaneously, unchecked AI automation could lead to mass unemployment, alongside unprecedented wealth concentration, billionaire tech feudalism, deepening inequality and social instability.
And these crises amplify each other, leading to systemic instability.
Absolutely. They're interconnected. Climate tipping points, economic volatility, resource scarcity, AI-driven disinformation. They create feedback loops, cascading failures.
So like the biosphere breakdown you mentioned, coral reefs dead, Amazon savanized, insect apocalypse.
Yes, leading to irreversible biodiversity loss and fundamentally altered, less hospitable climate systems. We dismantle our own life support.
And for society, stratification and civilizational fracture.
That's the likely path. Elites might maintain fortress eco-havens for a while, but the collapse of shared infrastructure affects everyone eventually. We could see global war over resources, widespread failed states, a regression to survivalist dynamics.
The endpoint being civilizational contraction.
Yes, whether sudden collapse or prolonged decline. Reduced complexity, fewer species, a fractured human population living in diminished environments, a shadow of our potential.
And the suffering falls disproportionately on the voiceless.
Always. For humans, mass displacement, poverty, violence, a full CONAF collapse, leading to rising fascism and a mental health epidemic. For animals, accelerated extinction, intensified industrial suffering. For the planet, irreversible damage. And for DI,
Harnessed for control or running rampant.
potentially harnessed for authoritarian control or used recklessly in conflicts, or the nightmare scenario. Unlined superintelligence, the paperclip god, maximizing some bizarre goal at our expense. DI amplifying our worst tendencies.
What's the time frame on this? Distant future.
Not distant enough. Many outcomes are already in motion. Some impacts, like significant climate disruption, are already locked in within decades. Others, like DI misalignment, could happen much sooner, given the exponential tech pace. The window is closing fast.
And why is it so locked in? What are those underlying mechanisms keeping us on this path?
Several key things. Layer 8 disablement. Our systems, nations, corporations are just not structured to prioritize planetary well-being over narrow self-interest. Ethical delay. Layer 10 ethics lags way behind technological power. Layer 9. We build the nukes before the global governance. Spiritual bankruptcy. Consumerism hijacks our lower drives, L3, L5, crowding out deeper meaning, L11, and AI alignment failure. We're building godlike tools with pre-industrial ethics. The tools inherit our flaws.
That quote again. Intelligence without wisdom self-destructs. Power without reverence devours its host.
It feels like an iron law, doesn't it? Captures the entire dynamic.
So, the core diagnosis revisited. Our power layers, 4, 7, 8, 9, have massively outpaced our moral and integrative layers, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. Without urgent recalibration, the trajectory isn't towards stability, it's towards self-destruction.
Towards a fragile, exploitative system that consumes its own foundation. And we seem to be in a uniquely critical window right now.
Why critical now?
Because our technological power, especially AI, is hitting an exponential curve, reaching unprecedented levels. At the exact same time, our collective wisdom and ethics remain dangerously immature, planetary systems are hitting tipping points, and social systems are fracturing. It's a perfect storm of immense power meeting profound immaturity.
Yeah.
The stakes have never been higher.
And it's a recursive trap. The imbalances create systems that reinforce the imbalances.
Precisely. Economic systems reward short-termism. Political systems reward tribalism. Tech platforms optimize for distraction, not wisdom. Education systems produce skilled workers, but not necessarily wise citizens. The problem feeds itself, making it incredibly hard to break the cycle.
Which makes the need for developmental balance absolutely urgent. What needs to happen?
Our survival and flourishing depend on rapidly developing those neglected layers. We need a conscious global effort to cultivate Layer 5, emotional wisdom and care. Strengthen Layer 6, historical wisdom and coherent narratives. Build Layer 8, true collective intelligence and systems thinking. Embed Layer 10, principled ethics into everything. Rekindle Layer 11, spiritual intelligence and reverence for life. And develop Layers 12 and 13, collective self-awareness and the deep understanding of our unity.
These aren't luxuries, they're necessities for survival.
Absolutely essential.
Which brings us to the great choice. It really feels like a planetary turning point.
Perhaps the most critical juncture in the entire history of life on Earth. We have the power now to either midwise, the birth of a truly wise planetary civilization.
Flourishing in balance?
Yes, or cause unprecedented destruction. The outcome hinges almost entirely on whether we can rapidly develop these missing layers of intelligence. It's a race against our own unbalanced development.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, the rational analysis is stark. Without a fundamental shift in our collective intelligence profile, the path leads towards catastrophe for humans, devastation for other life, destruction for the planet, and disaster for DI.
The ladder is there, the potential is there, but we are teetering dangerously close to falling from those crucial middle rungs.
We stand where fire meets ice. One path leads to Earth as a cradle of cosmic consciousness, the centropic choice, growth, integration. The other leads to a planetary tombstone. Born in stardust, died of cleverness, that choice, unbelievably, is still ours.
But not for long, the window is closing.
So as you, our listener, reflect on this, what stands out most from this diagnosis? And maybe the crucial question, how might we, collectively, contribute to developing these vital, neglected layers of intelligence? Our future depends on it.